You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. The body keeps the score and it holds the answers we look for everywhere else. Join me today to dive into the details. This episode contains adult subject matter and some listeners may be triggered by this content. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we look at how chronic stress and illness can shape our lives in ways we rarely expect. Our conversation moves through the hidden weight of burnout, the loss of alignment, and the search for purpose when everything feels uncertain. Nate Zeleznick is a visionary speaker, healer, and human potential pioneer, honored as the U.S. Wellness Coach of the Year at the 2024 FORTTUNA Global Excellence Awards and the Health 2.0 Visionaries Award in Dubai. He is the founder of the Integrated Ascension Method, a revolutionary system that fuses 500-year-old Royal Indonesian energy practices with cutting-edge neuroscience, biochemistry, and wellness technology. With over 37,000 hours of training and transformational leadership, Nate has helped empower millions across the globe. Now, Nate is on a deeply personal healing journey, actively reversing a brain tumor through breathwork, meditation, supplementation, advanced frequency medicine, and work with the world's most renowned energy healers. His mission is bold and clear: to inspire millions facing cancer and neurodegenerative illness to reclaim their vitality and believe in the possibility of total healing. With his new healing program, Ascended Living, Nate has partnered with Yemaya Vanderbilt, the creator of the Centerpoint Reset, and Ian Mitchell, the founder of Wizard Sciences, to help those dealing with many chronic illnesses, including the most severe, to balance their minds, bodies, and energies holistically. 3 pioneers collaborating for the healing of humanity with track records that are unprecedented on many levels. Having his business and method featured on Netflix, Gaia, and Amazon Prime, and hosting shows on platforms that reach over 50 million monthly viewers, Nate is leading a global shift in how we perceive illness, healing, and human capability. From boardrooms to spiritual summits, he awakens the superhuman within. Here is my interview with Nate Zeleznick. Hi, Nate. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because overcoming chronic stress and disease is, I feel, such a hugely important topic that we need to talk about more. And especially in this day and age where we have so much chronic illness, so much stress, so much chronic pain. Thank you for joining me today and welcome to the podcast.
Petra, thank you so much for having me. And to everyone out there, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It's an honor and pleasure to be here with all of you.
Thank you, Nate. And the honor and pleasure is all mine. Let's start with a little bit about yourself and maybe the pieces of your journey or your story that you feel connect to what you'd like to speak about today, what you'd like to share today, and how that brought you actually to doing what you do today. Let our listeners know a little bit about that and what you'd like to share.
I know that this podcast really appeals to a lot of people who are very interested in mental health, who are interested in having the best life possible and sometimes struggling through it. And I can definitely relate. I'm going to ask a question to everybody out there. Have you ever had a rock bottom that hit so hard you didn't think you'd ever be able to get back up? Or have you ever been knocked down so hard that the only way to actually keep going forward was to become someone new? I think a lot of us have. And myself, I have gone through many deaths and rebirths in my lifetime. When I was 12 years old, I found myself sitting on my father's office floor with his loaded rifle pointed at my head. After so many years of relentless bullying by my classmates, physical and emotional, as well as having some really tough upbringing, I just had it. I was done. I didn't want to be part of the game anymore. And as I'm sitting there contemplating taking this very permanent step based upon temporary feelings, I just couldn't do that to my mom and dad. And I put the gun away. And that actually was the catalyst for what transpired from that night for the rest of my life. I started having out of body experiences that night where my spirit would leave my body. I would see my body laying there. I would be able to travel. I was truly free. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew right then that I was a lot more than just my physical body. And I started to get this glimpse into the fact that I'm here for a purpose, for a reason. It's not just to be a punching bag for the kids at school. It's not just to work and do chores and farm work for my mom. It's about a lot more, which is all comes down to really experience. Through my life, I had always wanted to be a ninja and a Jedi. I wanted to have those superpowers ever since I saw Star Wars and I saw ninja movies in the 80s. I wanted to be both. And I don't know if anybody out there can relate to this about wanting to have that inner peace and that calm, that discipline, but also superpowers, having abilities beyond what other people can do or being able to sense beyond what the five senses are. But I did. And when I was 23 years old, I actually got the opportunity to step into that world in a way that no one in the world had ever done before. When I found this very interesting martial art on a documentary videotape, a VHS tape, where these people were breaking steel. They weren't breaking little boards, they were breaking steel with big smiles on their faces. And they were able to see blindfolded. I mean, these were special forces members in Indonesia, which is where this comes from, who were driving cars through traffic. They were fighting full contact, bare knuckles. They were able to shoot targets out of people's hands. And then it showed blind people whose eyes white as a sheet, blindfolded in front of news cameras, in front of royalty, doing these demonstrations where they could read printed material. And I was like, holy crap, Jedis might just be real. Now, this was an Indonesian documentary. I understood nothing on this videotape except for two words, Merpati, Putih. That's not to say I understood them. That means that's all I could really make out. Merpati, Putih. I went on this hunt. Like, who are these people? Let me back up just a little bit because everybody out there, if you've ever had what I like to call a synchrodestiny, meaning that something happens that there's just no way, it's chance, and it changes your life from that moment forward. Maybe it's when you met the person that you fell in love with. Maybe it's winning the Powerball. Maybe it's getting a flat tire and then meeting somebody that then becomes a business partner. Sometimes the hard things in life can turn into the best things in life. When I saw this videotape of these blindfolded people and these doing superhuman things, the very next day I watched a blind woman almost get killed in front of me trying to cross the street. And I had never had a true epiphany like, this is your life path, Nate. You must go and do this right now. You don't have a choice. But I did that day. And it was like my higher self or God spoke to me and said, you need to find those Indonesian people. You need to find them to help her. At 23 years old, I embarked upon a quest, very Lord of the Rings-ish, except for in the modern day, trying to find these Indonesian people. And I did. And I was able to bring them over to the United States for the very first demonstration of this art in the Western world. And I got to see, pun intended, blind people who could do anything that people with full sight can do and more. And it was very emotional for me. I was quite choked up the whole time because I knew I had found my path. Caveat to this, they had never allowed a non-Indonesian person to learn this in 500 plus years. It was kept within a royal family of Central Java, released to the Indonesian public in 1963 to help people during what's known as the Indonesian genocide, where about 500,000 people were killed by the Indonesian government in 6 months' time. We can't even really fathom that, but that's what was going on. And the 10th generation royal heir to the Merpati Putih, which means white dove, by the way. It's a very powerful spiritual symbol in a martial art. But he and two of his sons released it to the Indonesian public in order to help people understand that when I hurt you, I hurt myself. It's all about oneness. It's all about peace. It's all about ascension of our consciousness. It's all about embodied energetic practice. But they had never allowed a foreigner to learn until me. When they saw what I was willing to do to bring this art to them and to the world, they phoned over to the Merpati Putih chairman, who happened to be staying in my house with the team here. And they said, we want Nate to be the first. We see his heart. We know that he's the one to help take this to the rest of the world. And just so happens, another synchronicity happened. There happened to be a certified trainer of Merpati Putih who used to train the Indonesian army and special forces in the breathwork of this system. He lived an hour away from me. There were only 3 people in the country that could train me. One was an hour away. I mention this because so much of our life, so much of my life anyway, up until that point, I thought that it was all about doing more. It was all about keeping score. It was all about how hard can I grind? Can I push? And throughout my life, and I don't know if anybody out there can really relate to this, burnout is a real thing. We just burn that candle at both ends with a blowtorch in the middle, thinking that we can just carry it all, that we have to do it all, that if we don't, it won't get done. For me, that I wasn't being provided for by the universe, that I wasn't looked out for, that I felt alone a lot of my life, especially with my upbringing and the bullying. And here I had this opportunity to step into something that's service beyond myself. It's the service to people who need something that no one else is providing them. Jedi powers, literally. I started training. And a few weeks later, one of my younger brothers joined me. And together, the two of us went to Indonesia numerous times. We brought Indonesian trainers here. We had the opportunity to train thousands of people from age 5 to 85, not only in the martial arts, but also in the energy healing arts, which breath is our most important engine for our life, for our energy, for our consciousness, and for our enlightenment. That's why every system for enlightenment or spirituality focuses on breath as the first thing. All of them, pretty much every one of them, unless it's plant medicine, in which case that's a different story. But when we take a look at this and we really examine what's important for me, and especially recently, and I'll tell you more about that with a very interesting turn of events, it's always been about contribution. It's always been about self-knowledge. It's always been about how can I give back and also give to myself and keep growing. But along the way, I did lose sight of that, where I found I was giving so much more than I was allowing myself to receive. And I think for people that struggle with any kind of mental health or depression or anxiety, a lot of the time we will be giving so much and we don't give back to ourselves. And it's like the masks on a plane. If the oxygen goes out, if there's a loss in cabin pressure, they tell you put your mask on yourself first before helping other people. And myself, oh, I've gone through many phases where I just put the mask on everybody else and just decided I was going to hold my breath because I'm a breath worker. But that's actually not metaphorically. that's really my story up until this point, is training people all over the world, over 10 million people online to date, helping people really realize more of the reason why they're here and remember the purpose for their existence on the planet, which is different for everybody. I don't have that answer. I just work here. Oh, I'll be the first to say that. Everybody has their own path. But most people don't take the opportunity to actually step in and listen to, what is my path? Where did I come from? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Where am I going after this? The big questions, because we get so mired into the being a human being, sorry, a human doing, not a human being. And that brings us to the present day, where my life has definitely shifted a lot. I don't teach the martial arts anymore. Instead, I am on a completely spiritual path, helping people in a very embodied, scientific, palpable way. Within minutes, they can truly shift their chemistry, shift their energy, shift their psychology into a much better, more powerful, and healthy place.
Wow. Thank you for sharing your journey to bringing us to the present moment and then what's happening now. And I feel like you're touching on so many different pieces that I feel our listeners can really relate to, and many people on this planet can relate to. And that is some of the disconnect that happens when we come here as human beings wanting to follow up on a soul journey or a soul contract, or however we believe that is set up for us, and find that we disconnect and lose, as you said, that purpose and that path somewhere in there. We're busy surviving, as you were. We're busy making sense into surviving days that we have here. And then we lose that connection to our purpose, to our alignment. And I feel that causes all sorts of issues for people, mental health issues, physical health issues. And I feel like we're not even just talking about energetically or spiritually or even religiously, however our listeners believe in that, but that has real ripple effects in our life, mentally, emotionally, physically, into every part of our being. And thank you for giving us a bit of a visual experience of what that looks like to walk on that path, to have a calling. But as you said, then also come to a point where we actually may lose sight of that. Take us forward on what is happening in your life at the present moment. Take us forward a little bit to what are some of the things that you are working on, some of the experiences that you are going through, and let us know what happened when you started losing sight a little bit of that calling, of that higher calling, of that alignment that you were on when you were teaching the martial arts.
It wasn't necessarily that I had lost sight of the vision. It's that I decided to, and a lot of people out there might relate to this, is I was brought up to don't ask for help. You can do it yourself. And I'm also a very high production person, very active, very energetic. I like to do it all. I want to have as many experiences as I can in this lifetime while I'm here. But what that also does is it scatters your energy. If you think of like a bullet will hit one place, but a shotgun is going to spread out. But that's exactly what I did. I tried to do everything: martial arts classes, seniors health and fitness classes, women's rape prevention workshops, children's only just the martial arts, then the full martial arts program from Patipudi, then training people in the blindfolded skill, trying to do all these things, trying to do them all full time along with my brother. Oh, wow, that's a lot to put on my plate. And I think that is where a lot of burnout happens for a lot of people, is that they get overload for their CPU, for their brain, and for their energy system. For me, taking you forward now to where I'm at, in 2020, when the pandemic affected all of us, it really affected the martial arts and the wellness industry. About 7,000 martial arts schools in the United States closed within the first 6 months permanently. Ours was one of those, and we switched over to a seminar format. Then fast forward just a little bit, as our souls take us through these growth phases. Sometimes people come into our lives, sometimes people go out, sometimes it's a really powerful, painful process. It could be a spouse, could be a family member. For me, my brother and I decided after 20 years of being in business full-time, traveling the world, learning all these ancient energy secrets, and helping people on every level we could, that we just weren't aligned in our vision for what we're here to do to help people and how. And in 2022, we split on our business, and I decided I needed to walk the road alone, as did he, so that we can actually contribute how we feel our souls are here to contribute. And that was a very difficult thing. And I went into a kind of a darker place there, honestly, Petra, to felt like I lost my best friend. And anybody who's gone through a family separation or a divorce, I know you know exactly what this feels like. It feels like part of your identity's gone. And then you have to rebuild into who you actually are without codependency, without that co-identity. It took me a little while. And that's one thing people know about me is I don't give up. I don't give up at all, ever. I keep going. And then a couple of amazing things happened in my life that helped me really shift my focus to that point of inner peace. First of all, I met the most amazing cosmic co-pilot. That's my soulmate. Her name's Jemaya. She's the most incredible shaman and woman that I've ever met for me. Like truly perfect for me. I met her while co-facilitating a retreat in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, and she was facilitating as well. And it was just immediate magnetism. Fast forward a couple days after that, on March 3rd of this year, I had lost all sensation of my skin, which I'm sure you'll agree is totally normal. Like I could stick a needle in my arm. I did. I was like, this is not right, because I didn't feel the pain. When I got home from Mexico, the next day I went to the hospital, to the ER, which is something I don't usually do. I'm not a big fan of going into hospitals. I don't absolutely have to. Hadn't been in 20 years. But this was important. And when the doctor walked in after they did an MRI, just checking everything out, and he said, uh-oh. And I went, uh-oh, what? He said, Nate, I'd like to see you out in the hall. I'd like to show you something. I walked out following this doctor, and I'll be honest, Petra, my intuition told me what was coming. I knew it the night before what this was, but to see it on an MRI is another thing. He went through the slides on the MRI, and he stopped on one that showed a white ball in my head. And he said, this isn't supposed to be there. And I went, uh-oh, that's a real uh-oh moment. And almost immediately, things started shifting on a level so deep and fundamental, I can't explain it unless somebody has actually been through this experience. My ego immediately crumbled. Here I was. I spent 25 years almost daily in deep meditation and energy work and breath work and human potential and psychology and biohacking, all the stuff and the things. And it all faded away. And my ego it didn't take very long. It took maybe an hour for me to make a true shift from, okay, we have a problem. How do we solve this? To asking the really important question, which is ubiquitous, okay, for everybody out there listening, no matter what you're going through, this series of questions will help you in an amazing way. The first question that I asked is, how is this for me? Not, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? It's not about that. How is this for me? Second, how is this a lesson that I get to grow through and then inspire others? That's just always been my heart. How can I take my adversity and help other people rise? And by asking those two questions, how is this for me? How is this a lesson that I can then learn through and help other people rise? Became extremely poignant and very powerful for me. And I tell you what, when this happened, I wouldn't say when this happened, I would say when this blossomed. That's really what it is, the culmination of so many things and all these practices that I had been doing for so many decades. Now it was time for the healer to heal thyself. Truly, life or death. Put your money where your mouth is, Nate. It's time to go. And what I've been doing since then, Petra, is I have gone down the rabbit hole of biohacking, supplementation, nutrition, where I've shed 54 pounds since March 3rd, and I've put on about 10 pounds of muscle. My blood markers are all absolutely perfect now just by eating foods that don't harm me, which in America is hard, but it's possible, and I help people with that. Energy and frequency medicine, rife frequencies, Kaima frequencies, things that honestly have been created just for me by some of the top researchers and scientists and doctors in the world. And then a very special treatment that, imagine if you found somebody who you'd never heard of before, but they work at the highest levels of the government, somebody who had been nominated to be the next director of the National Cancer Institute. And if they don't take that job, to be the director of the National Institute on Aging, in charge of all Alzheimer's treatment and research, because they have a 100% reversal rate for Alzheimer's up to this point, and over 95% reversal of all kinds of cancer, including brain tumors, up until this point. Now imagine you come across somebody like that, and then imagine that one of your best friends happens to work for the guy and hooks you up to get you in a long time before you actually could. And that's exactly what happened. I call him the miracle engineer. And we're working with him now in business partnership. My love, Jemiah, on the spiritual side, myself on the energetic and on the breath work, meditation, nervous system attenuation side, and then our business partner, Ian Mitchell, who owns Wizard Sciences, who is by far the most brilliant person I've ever met. And I have a lot of people that I've met that are good friends of mine, of Nobel Prize nominated scientists and doctors. This guy is light years ahead of anybody I've ever met. And we're now working together with the program that we're creating called Ascended Living. And this is such a passion for me, Petra, because hundreds of millions of people are expected to be diagnosed with cancer. 1 out of 2 men and 1 out of 3 women in the US. According to the American Cancer Society, that's about 200 million people just in the United States. Alzheimer's is projected to double or maybe even triple by 2040. If you can just imagine what that would be like to lose your mind. I've lost 3 grandparents to Alzheimer's. I've lost several family members to cancer. And the thing is that there's a saying that when an old man dies, an entire library burns to the ground with him. Of course, that could be a woman as well. That's not going to happen to me. I made it my mission very soon after this diagnosis to be able to share this knowledge that I've been amassing over the past 26 years, to combine it with the most advanced energetic and now biochemistry in the world to help people truly heal, not just their bodies, but their minds and their spirit, however that needs to be. Kind of like if you have a wound, let's say you got a scrape. If you keep peeling off the scab, it will never heal. We go right to the root. We go right to the root with this program. And we also help the physical body heal. But fans of Joe Dispenza out there will understand that everything is vibration, everything is frequency, everything is information, everything is energy. If we don't fix the energy first and also simultaneously work on the physical, you can heal the physical all you want. And the mind, the spirit, the higher self, the subconscious can definitely bring those diseases back in order for us to keep learning that lesson that we need to heal on the highest level. That's what Ascended Living does. And that's where I'm at up until this point. Is we're about ready to launch as of right now, tomorrow. By the time this airs, everybody out there will have the opportunity to reach out to me, contact me. And for anybody that they know, anybody that they love, themselves, if you're dealing with a chronic illness, whether it's cancer, whether it's Alzheimer's, heart disease, diabetes, Hashimoto's, kidney issues, depression, anxiety, this program We've really designed it to be a unicorn in the world for what's available for true healing now. And that brings us to where I'm at right at this point. Everything is shifted with that diagnosis in the very best ways possible. I call it my blessing and my lesson. Fear has never been a part of this. This has always been about inspiration and hope, honestly. And I love the fact that I get to help so many people find that inspiration and hope, especially when they're facing their dark night of the soul or that river of change that maybe they didn't consciously jump in, but the current's got them. The current has them and it's taking them wherever it's going to take them. How do we not just tread water, but we swim with that flow and that current to get to the place we really want to be on the other side of that bank? And I'm just honored and blessed to be able to do this.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just sitting here soaking in what you're explaining to us, what you're sharing. I have to say, I think for a lot of people and people who I know personally, their first reaction to something as you went through definitely wasn't inspiration. It was fear and it was despair and it was that hopelessness that there only is one way forward, and that is some conventional treatment that they must now get. And basically, this will change their lives and they will never be the same. And then it'll likely come back and that'll be the end of it. I am absolutely so grateful to hear you say that there was a lesson that you wanted to learn. There was this inspiration that came, that it changed and transformed your life, because that, I feel, shows us a path forward that as humans who have this innate healing potential often don't look at, because there's so much noise in the world that tells us otherwise. And not very often do we actually just cut out all that noise, go inside and listen to what's there and what the possibilities are for us. Thank you for sharing that. And this program, it does sound like an absolute unicorn of what we can find out there. If we have listeners that may have some chronic illness diagnoses or a cancer diagnosis, or they have a family member who is struggling with Alzheimer's, what would be some of the first things that you would say? Obviously, check out your program. That's a really good place to start. Anything else that you would share with them as they are maybe stumbling through this, as you said, this dark night of the soul, this place of where there's a lot of fear, a lot of unknown, uncertainty, a lot of hopelessness of what's available? What would you share with them in that moment that they might be going through right now?
A dear friend of mine, a very wise individual, told me years ago, and I've never forgotten this, that having all the right answers is smart, but asking the right question is genius. I say this from personal experience. Rather than saying, oh no, they found something. Oh no, the person in the white coat says that I only have X number of months to live. It's very important that definitely believe the diagnosis. When you see something on an MRI that's not supposed to be there, guess what? That's there. But I would really caution anyone from believing the prognosis of the medical system. And this is why. I have numerous friends that are alive a decade after they told they had only a couple months to live in stage 4 cancers. But through alternative means, holistic means, through the power of their mind, through meditation, through altering the chemicals in their body to ones of healing rather than hormones of stress, they're now cancer-free a decade on. I have numerous friends that have in that case, which means that the people that go through medical school, they're trained to say certain things based upon their observations and their experience. And bless their heart, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And a lot of people give up their power to the people that, first of all, are not them. That's obviously the case. Second of all, they don't really have their true best interest at heart. And I'll tell you why. When the doctor came to me and he said, oh, yeah, we'll just wait for about 6 months and do another MRI and keep an eye on it. And I'm like, oh, no, we're not doing this. I don't wait, I act. I'm like, it's not your life, sir. It's not your life. If it was your life, you would want another MRI and you'd want to start taking action right now, but it's not. And that's okay. But if you do have a chronic diagnosis, if you have asthma, this breath work that I teach, there's nothing else like it. And almost every one of my asthmatic students has reversed their asthma, or they've been able to reduce their medication from whatever they were doing to almost nothing within just a couple of months. And it takes only about 10 minutes a day. It's not like every other breath work out there. This is truly unique. But if it's asthma or a COPD or long COVID and the spike protein and detoxing our body, I would say look for the detox, not just of your body, because there are many methods, but also the detox of your mind. Meditation, whatever type you choose. And if you have never meditated before, you've ever struggled with it, or you're a devout meditator that now is having trouble getting into that really deep state of meditation because your mind keeps chattering about whatever the doctor told you or whatever the scan showed, there are amazing scientific sounds from a good friend of mine that is one of the pioneers of binaural beats and brainwave entrainment that do things to put you in brainwave states that no monk can actually reach. So deep that it does amazing things for your nervous system and for the chemicals in your body. This is a big way of saying, first things first, ask the right question. How is this for me? What do I do now in order to heal through this? Those two questions, and then you sit with the answer. Sit with it as the answer comes. You can't solve a problem from the same state of mind that caused it. When we sit and we're simply aware, awareness is not thinking. Thinking is like talking. Awareness is like listening. When we sit and we're aware, but we ask the right question, we speak it to the universe, to our higher self, to our superconscious, and we sit with that and allow the answer to come to us. It gives us a direction because then we feel empowered, Petra. We feel like we're in charge of this sailing of our ship rather than having people behind us pushing the boat wherever they want it to go. Ask the right questions. How is this for me? How is this a lesson for me to learn through? And then also take full responsibility for the fact that it's your life. This body is the only place that you have to live. And it's your responsibility to make sure that you get the treatment that you need and the healing. And I think medical treatments are amazing. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And I would really recommend people do their research. Reach out to me about the Ascended Living program. We'll have all kinds of different free webinars that will help guide you in different ways to give you these inspirations and these understandings about some of the things that are available that have been shown to be unprecedented in their success with different diseases and different ailments, illnesses, imbalances, whatever you would like to call them. Just call them tissue issues. Once you do the research and you have a plan, then it's time to act. And by taking that action, it gives us inspiration because we feel empowered, because we're driving the boat. We're not just doing what everybody else says because they have a white coat and they have a medical degree or whatever. I've learned that medical does not mean health. Not at all. Medical does not equal health. And doctors have told me that. If you want to go and just do medical, great. But I also encourage everyone out there to seek out your health. And it's not just physical. It starts with the mind. It starts with the emotions. It starts with the spirit and the energy of your body, the energy that makes up your body. Start there. And you can also work on the physical at the same time. And when you work on one, you work on the other. It's a beautiful thing. Right questions, do your research, start taking action, inspire yourself. Those are the first four things that I would really recommend for everybody out there. And that's not just for people with disease, that's for people who are alive. If you have a body, those four things can really help you on a deeper path of healing, health, and self-knowledge.
Yeah, amazing. I was actually just going to ask you that is, do we have to wait until we have a diagnosis or there's something really wrong showing up in our lives? should we really be working on these things before that happens and put ourselves in an optimal state of health, mentally, physically, emotionally, as much as we can? Things will happen in life as they do, but we can do some of these things before we get any kind of diagnosis as well. And it sounds like your program is also a piece in just caring for ourselves in an optimized way. Do people have to wait until they have a very significant or terminal diagnosis to join your program? Or would you also recommend this for people to just live their best lives?
Absolutely. There are some things that I know that I've never found anybody be able to refute these or argue against them. They're pretty much universal. The first one is that you exist. You exist and you're having experience. We're all having experience. If you ask anybody, 3, 2, 1, stop having experience. Nobody can do it because the experience is ongoing and you can't shut it off. Those are 4 absolute universal truths. You exist and are having experience. Second one is you have this experience. It's ongoing. Third, you can't shut it off. And the fourth one is everything changes except for the first 3 things. Everything will change. We get to ask ourselves the question, what do I want? What do I prefer to experience? To your question, no, don't wait. Because we're having experience. You can't shut it off. It's ongoing. What kind of experience do you want to have? Do you want to have one where you're waiting for the end, or you're just getting through another day? Or do you want to have that experience where everything seems to go wrong and there seems to be no reasoning behind it and you're not really learning anything and you have to repeat the lessons? Or do you want to look at life as a big game? It's an adventure. It's an amazing amusement park that we decided to join when we came here. And we are the infinite, unlimited, eternal being having different experience, which means that we may not be able to choose always what is happening to us, but we do have the opportunity to choose how we are going to act, react, and then manifest from that. So no, to answer to your question, no, you do not have to wait. When people go to my personal site, and for everybody out there, I'll give you my digital business card where you'll actually have access to me. It's really simple. It's just natez360.com. So Nate, the letters Z like zebra, 360.com. You can save me in your contacts. You can reach out to me on WhatsApp. You can get free classes from me. I have an app that is very unique that has these different breath works and meditations. There's a lot of free content on there. And then, of course, for the people who want to really maximize their potential, or if they are having a different chronic illness, the Ascended Living program, that's your jam. But from my other programs, I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen miraculous changes in people who are truly healthy. Personal records. I've worked with Olympic gold medalists and professional boxers and CEOs, people that just want to maximize their experience on the planet. That's what I help people do. You can reach out to me, look at my courses, look at my videos, follow me online on social media for inspiration. And this gives opportunity for people who really are ready to be a change maker right now instead of waiting for having to change, but they want to change, to do whatever they're looking to do, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional intelligence, whether it's mental health. These things, they work. If you have a body and you have the desire, the motivation to actually change, they change you quickly in a very positive way. I just look forward to contributing as much as I possibly can while I'm here.
Thank you for sharing that. And of course, we will be linking to all of your offerings in the show notes as well. Listeners, make sure you pop into the show notes for this episode to have a look at what Nate just shared. And we'll link you to his digital business card, his offerings, his online presence so that you can connect. And I want to thank you, Nate, really from the bottom of my heart for sharing this. It's also very dear to me. I feel all lost people in various cases and sometimes lost ourselves, maybe not physically, but in different ways throughout our lifetime. And I feel what you're sharing is one of these missing puzzle pieces that we all need to know about so that we can live our best lives. We can make informed choices. We can go and really co-create this best health that we can have. So thank you for sharing that. And listeners, if you are in that dark night of the soul, if you are going through some of these experiences, please reach out. Let's share this information. Let's share this wisdom and this knowledge and really provide some tools and access and experiences so that we can all share in this beautiful experience of why we're here, learn these lessons and move forward. Thank you, Nate, so much for being here today. I truly appreciate your time, your wisdom, all this knowledge that you've shared. And I very much look forward to connecting with you online and having some more of those experiences as well. Thank you so much.
It is my honor. It's my pleasure to be here. This is such an amazing ride. What can I say? For me, and who would have thought that a brain tumor would be the biggest blessing and lesson that I could ever have? And it's all because I choose to look at it that way and turn it into something very positive and helping other people do that too. I'm happy to be here.
You're such an inspiration. I can feel this energy and this passion radiate through the Zoom. So thank you so much for just shining your light in the world and making it a better place for people. And truly, truly appreciate it. And thanks for spending your time with me today. I know that you're very busy and you're in a very busy time. So thank you for that. And take really good care of yourself and keep us posted on how your journey continues.
I definitely will. And people can follow me online, check out my GoFundMe page, all the stuff and all the things. And however I can help you, this is for every single person out there who's listening to this right now. Please understand that you are not alone. There are other people walking a difficult road with power, with inspiration, looking to improve their life. But I'm also here to help you improve yours. However I can, I will. Please reach out and know that you are supported.
And we'll leave our listeners with your beautiful words. Thank you, Nate. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejorni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.